Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Oh man, have you ever actually like kinked a hose while somebody was like hosing something?
Yes.
I did that to my dad one time. He was fucking pissed.
I think that's. I definitely did that to my dad.
That's good. Dads deserve it the most.
This is a grand start.
Yeah.
This is how we always start.
The auspicious way to begin our episode.
I don't care for people who are prepared. I don't have time for it. Give me the chaos. That's what I want.
I just noticed your shirt.
Yeah, Nick is wearing a Wild at Heart
I've
shirt
been
right
wearing
now.
this shirt for months waiting for you to notice.
Yeah.
Just every day.
Shows
That
how-
explains the smell.
No,
just-
that's just me.
I'm just lost. I just get lost in your eyes, Nick.
God.
Sweet of you.
Yeah.
It's the one that he was wearing in the interview when he freaks out and does all the punches and kicks, and then he takes his shirt off and gives it to the interviewer. So if you're lucky, I'll take my shirt off, and one of you could go home with it today.
Hey.
I've seen you naked. It's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. It's decent.
Yeah.
The UK's own Terry Wogan in that interview. We know it well over here. One of our dearly departed greats. God rest his soul.
Oh man. Oh, before we start, can we just talk about the weather for a second? Because I walked through so many spider webs on the way to my car today.
It is spider time for sure.
Yeah. So in Seattle, we have this thing called spider season.
This is up there with the most American things you could say to me.
Do you not have spider season?
I mean, we have spiders, but we don't have a season where they're just like out with the family going, nice day for it today, huh?
That is really how
Exactly
it is.
how it is. My downstairs neighbor showed me where the spider stick was. Like, she has a broom that she just leaves outside for taking care of the webs.
Oh, you have a spider stick.
There's a
Oh,
spider
yeah.
stick. So
It's like a poop knife, but for outside.
I went to get the spider stick yesterday to go to my car, and the spiders had built a web in front of the stick.
They're learning.
They're learning. They know what our weapon is, and they're trying to protect them. They're trying to stop us from getting it.
These are good spiders.
I don't like it.
You're describing spider like season, and I just feel like you would pity me and say like, Darryl, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in our world, and I probably wouldn't. I'm not built for spider season.
Yeah. For the most part, the weather out here is a lot like Southwest Ireland, like kind of that. Oh God, I only know freedom units. I don't remember Celsius for like.
I only know Celsius, please. Speak down to me.
Is that what they?
I'm just gonna guess
Is
it
that-
at like 13 degrees. It's usually 13 C around here.
Welcome back to Cage Match: a roundabout way of meeting Nicolas Cage. I'm your host Sean, here with my co-host
Nick.
and our producer.
Peter.
And we have a special guest today from the Cage Rage podcast. We have Darryl.
Hello, gang. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. What a delight it is to be here with you all today.
It's been really educational. I mean, we're already busting into like the metric podcasting scene.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming for you.
It's a niche that needs to be tapped into, and I'm sick of no one talking about it.
But we're not going to go all the way. We're still going to use standard units like inches.
I think you named the podcast Freedom Units.
Yeah.
On this podcast, we talk about, rate, and review 64 Nicolas Cage best films as decided by us. And we will one day decide what Nick Cage's best, most cagey film is, as decided by us.
Right. So it's kind of a bracket style, 64 movies head to head, and we whittle them down into a, final 32, final 16, etc., etc.
64 movies go in. One movie comes out, if we can be bothered to finish this.
Yeah, we'll see. Season 1 getting close to wrapping up. Season 2, who knows?
That's a lot of rewatching.
So, Darryl, your show, in brief, you are really just running through the entire catalog of Nick Cage's filmography, correct?
Yes, sir. I hear you say 64 only, and I think rookie numbers.
To be fair, this is a bracket that kind of like timeline ended at Unbearable Weight, because that's when we started this.
So, Darryl, you've made it through the entire catalog at this point, correct?
Pretty much got one or two to catch up on, but we were talking the other day, and you said, you started this a few years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I've been doing this for years. Nicolas Cage has been my life for years, but this is like the weirdest brag for a 31-year-old man to make, but yes, I have seen every Nicolas Cage movie ever made, and no, I'm not the same person that I was 3 years ago.
If it makes you feel better, we're almost 40, so you could be ruining your life 10 years later.
Yeah. You got a head start on us.
I know. I'm getting in early. I'm getting the midlife crisis out of the way right now.
Well, you get to take a lot more of this knowledge into the dating scene.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get my partner into Nicolas Cage for a few years, and I'm whittling her down bit by bit. I made her watch Knowing with me, which we'll talk about later.
Oh boy.
But more misses than hits with some of the films that I've showed her so far. But it's a long process, and that is the commitment of my love.
So I want to. Was there a specific order you watched them in? Did you go chronological, or was it just kind of?
Oh, did you go alphabetical?
I'm not a monster. I went chronologically, the straightest, safest way to do it, and then you can just see this evolution of Cage, this progression of Cage from the 80s up until now. And the most interesting part of the journey is watching how his hairline just evolves as well.
I usually try and track his sternum bush.
Oh, that's not a bad one to look at. It comes and goes. I think there's less sternum bush as time goes on. Like Valley Girl, I don't know if you've covered that. He basically had the Batman signal as a sternum bush.
I'm sure we'll talk about it more, I'm sure, in Wild at Heart. But it almost looked like he had his chest hair shaved into like a capital I, and like he just shaved his pecs. But it was just, I mean, the people who can see me know what I'm doing.
Oh yeah,
You're indicating a capital I.
Yeah, on my chest.
We do a lot of physical comedy on this podcast,
Yeah.
Darryl, just so you know.
We like to paint a picture.
The best place for physical comedy is through an audio medium, I find.
It's gotten me this far.
Darryl, we were talking this morning about your episode about Pig and how you had the conversation about the KFC and champagne. And I believe you were calling it Shamtucky Fried Chicken. And I think that's a fantastic name.
That sounds like the sort of mentally ill thing I would have said. Yeah, that sounds about right. I know it's something you've got to do. You've got to have KFC and fried chicken. You've got to honor the man the way he would want to be honored with his favorite meal.
Well, we were thinking too, as we actually get to our final four, there's a couple of things that we might try and do. You know, renting out a movie theater or something and having people come and watch the movies with us. But the only food and drink that would be served would be KFC and champagne. So
I will be on the first flight out.
yes.
Awesome.
I will max my credit card with no hesitation.
We'll try to do it during spider season so you get the entire experience.
We're just a little over a year out, so yeah, it'll probably be about spider season.
Yeah.
God, I hate spider season so much. I've only known about this for 10 minutes and I hate it.
Do you know what like Burning Man is? Do you guys have the concept of Burning Man?
Or have you heard of burning?
Yeah.
Do you have your own Burning Man, like Burning Chap?
Burning Fellow. I am aware of this. It's basically the Wicker Man, except people celebrate it in a desert, isn't that kind of the thing?
Yeah, and they
pretty
do a
much.
bunch of drugs and shit.
There's fewer bees.
So I've got a neighbor who is really big into the Burning Man scene, and he has built like it's about 5.5 feet tall by around like 9 to 12 feet long, just giant hairy spider that he keeps on top of his garage, and it like looms out over the sidewalk like it's gonna reach down and grab somebody.
This thing was not, I was not warned about this the first time I went to Nick's place. So I am driving down the street. It's like, ooh, cake shop. Driving. Holy shit, giant spider. And like swerve my car in the middle of the road.
It's one of my favorite things. And there's no like street light next to it. So it's like, you just look at it and it's like Shelob. That's what they call it. It's Shelob.
At night in the rain, that thing is truly horrifying.
Oh, that's terrifying. It feels like you guys have got like the big holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and then spider season are like the big four.
We've got it all the hits.
Speaking of the hits,
2009's Knowing.
2009.
We're going to take a hit and talk about this movie.
My favorite part about having guests is having to do less work. So Darryl, why don't you break Knowing down for us?
So Knowing basically charts the journey of an astrophysics professor played by Nicolas Cage, whose son comes into possession of a cryptic document of numbers, which Cage soon finds out predicts various disasters that have occurred, that will occur, and for some reason decides not to stay in his lane and work out what the numbers mean, just like that Call of Duty meme. And that's Knowing, baby.
Masterclass, thank you.
I've summarized a lot of Cage films in my time. Not my first rodeo.
So this is very much in that era of disaster porn films. There's the whole stringboard conspiracy theory, which then takes a hard turn into disaster porn, planes crashing, people like on fire, the whole subway sequence.
There was a lot of people just getting fucking killed.
Yeah. Some of these were actually like really weirdly telling. Like there was a subway car that derailed when the driver was drunk and killed. It only killed like 5 people. Those numbers were weak, but it did hurt like 160 people, and that was pretty impressive.
5 deaths. We don't waste our time on 5 deaths.
Yeah,
Nope.
they obviously
This is
bumped it up for
America.
the
This is
movie.
America.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm sad.
They don't make you they don't
Don't-
make
don't
you
worry,
register
just
your train.
Step outside and get yourself a face full of spiders, and you'll be right
Yeah,
at
it's
train.
true.
Don't need a background check and a train, baby.
Oh. We live in a horrible society.
Yeah.
Everything we say is too soon.
Liam Hemsworth was in it?
Yeah, he played
Yeah.
Spencer.
Where was he?
I had to go back and look.
He's one
So
of the students, right?
yeah, so when he was the one, he's like throws the sun to, and he's like, "Tell me about the sun." He's like, "It's hot." That's Liam Hemsworth
How did he end up getting a credit on the fucking Wikipedia for that?
because it was his
Because then he
first
later
role.
went to be on to become Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, because now he
You
gets
know.
to take over the wildly popular Witcher series.
That's true.
It all starts with Cage.
What, this movie starts out like back in the 50s or some shit. Yeah, like the inaugural school or class of this school, and they're gonna drop like, what are those things called?
Time capsule.
A time capsule
Yeah.
down, and
So everyone draws pictures of the future.
yeah, except for this little girl Lucinda, who just writes a bunch of numbers like a mad woman. She had really nice handwriting. I'll give
Yeah.
her that.
Yeah.
So when they put the time capsule on the ground, they put the big metal plate over it, and then when they take it off, they just take it off. So that thing wasn't sealed. No way that thing stayed there for 50 years. I was a shitty kid. I would have tried to get into that.
It does feel like a proper prank.
Yeah, manhole covers aren't that heavy either. Well, I mean, they're certainly heavy, but it's not that hard to pull one off.
Yeah.
I've gotten in.
Were you looking for turtles?
No, my college when I was going to Montana, we figured out that we could pop the manhole in the center of campus, and it would drop you down into the steam tunnels, or like in the tunnels where all the steam lines run. So you could get into every building on campus because there were no doors because the pipes just had to go in. So we could get into the science building and like into their storage room and play with their microscopes and like, I don't know, go drink. But it's always like 85, 90 degrees in there. So you'd be dropping in the middle of winter in like shorts and a t-shirt because that's what's going to be comfortable. And then you look like a madman when you crawl out at like 3 a.m, just sweating balls.
That sounds so freaky, steam tunnels. I think you saying, though, that sneaking into science labs to play with like microscopes is like the nerdiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, like
And that
real
comes-
hooligan shit, right?
Yeah, I know
It's
my
just-
voice really makes me sound like I'm some big badass, but no, I'm a microscopes at midnight kind of guy.
That's the name of your autobiography.
Microscopes at midnight. I'm going to zoom in on this thing. And then you crawl back through the steam tunnels.
This thing looks dumb. What's it look like really close? Really dumb.
The politest acts of rebellion that is possible for anyone to commit. 5
Yeah.
seconds of inconvenience.
What were we talking about again? Knowing.
Knowing.
Yeah, this movie.
All right, so,
So-
you got Nick Cage as John Kostler, Rose Byrne as Diana.
I think it's pronounced Kessler.
Kessler. Thank you. And
I think
really,
pronounced
it's
Cuckoldry.
Ben Mendelsohn is the only other one that is important, and he fucking rules. I love
Yeah,
him.
Ben Mendelsohn's awesome.
Interesting though. So 2009, he has that one quote. He goes, "She thinks you're intriguing," which I thought was code for gay. It's like, oh my god. Okay, this is of an era.
Yeah. That era is everything before 5 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Turns out not everything is gay. You know, some things are a little bit gay. So we'll go in the right direction, I think. Or maybe things should be more gay. I don't know.
No, there's a gay spectrum. A gay color wheel?
I think all color wheels are gay.
This
Yeah.
conversation expresses exactly how movies were written in 2009. This is how that line got in there.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
like, I don't know. He's intriguing. Intriguing or maybe just a little bit gay. Yeah.
It was the basis of whole characters once upon a time that they were gay person 1, gay person 2. And now these characters have names. So I think we're going in somewhat of the right direction, and I'm here for all of it. More names for gay characters, Hollywood, if you're listening. More names.
Huh. That's kind of actually like a original Dungeons and Dragons where it's like, elf is your class. Your entire identity is wrapped up in this one thing.
Yeah.
My entire character for his whole season is a gay elf. Any backstory? Nope. Just fires bows and is gay.
Yep.
What else would you need?
I just love those pointy ear dongs.
Oh, God.
Knowing. 50 years later, when it's dug up, Nick Cage's son, who has a hearing aid for reasons, gets Lucinda's letter and wants to figure out what the code is. And like the good father Nick Cage is, spends every night in his armchair with a bottle of whiskey and stares at it and sees the numbers 9/11.
Which, of course, stands out to an American.
Yeah.
That's all I think about.
He goes full conspiracy board and like finds all the dates and tracks it down with like numbers of deaths, and later on finds out that the other numbers that don't mean anything are latitude and longitude.
As an airplane falls down on him on the correct date at those coordinates. Like, he could have been anywhere in the world. It's good of Lucinda to have set up like the first stepping stone literally blocks away from the school.
It speaks to the teaching of 1950s America, though.
They were a little better at geography and mathematics. And
I read that her full name was Lucinda Embry, which is like an anagram of badly numeric.
That seems like something someone came up with later.
Yeah.
I mean, about this film, though, it kind of feels to me, and I'm not sure if you've covered it yet, but Knowing feels to me like the film they wanted Left Behind to be, even though the ending kind of tanks. But there's a lot of things about this that don't make sense. Like, one, there was no reason at all logically for Nicolas Cage's characters to start delving into these numbers. He just got like a glass ring on. It's like, oh. Then he sees, trigger word for Americans, 9/11. And then what I loved is that he's Googling 9/11 and he sees like 2,996 deaths. And in the most like passively bland, unemotional way, 2,996. Come on. as if, why couldn't you round it up to 3,000? And like, he's something I find baffling as well. I think they're at MIT. Is that the college he teaches at, which I understand is one of the most like world-renowned institutes of learning in the world. But there he is, just a depressed astrophysicist professor who's like, everything's shit, everything sucks, throwing suns at people. Like, I'm paying tens of thousands of dollars for this education. This is great. And the other thing, you know, say what you want about child actors, when they get the time capsule out and his son gets the numbers, did anyone else feel like an instant burning rage when that child ran behind him? It's like, what did you get? Boring. Everyone else got pictures.
yeah, like,
I wanted to beat the shit out of that kid.
Yeah, fuck that kid,
That kid
so
really
much.
sucked.
We've been tracking kind of loosely when Cage movies have a kid in them, if it's a good kid or a bad kid. Like the kid in Pig. Cool kid.
Handpan.
Handpan, yeah. That kid fucking rules. This kid and that kid suck shit.
Yeah. The son in this, he's such a little dick. I don't like that kid.
It's like a carryover from Left Behind. It's like, well,
Right.
they had a bad kid. We better have a shitty kid too. Just
Just-
can't rapture him right away.
The first scene of Nicolas Cage and his son, they're like in the backyard. Nicolas Cage is grilling up some hot dogs because it's Dad's famous hot dog night. Just cooking. They're looking through a telescope. They're talking about, you know, life, if there's life on other planets. His wife has died at some point. And the kid's just kind of being
Life on other planets. His wife's dead. You
This-
know, standard
exposition.
Sunday night hot dog
But
conversation.
like, the
Famous
kid's,
hot dog night.
the kid's being kind of shitty about it. And then,
Your mom's dead. Have a fucking wiener, kid.
I mean, that's not too dissimilar to what happened to me. I was about that age. But
This sounds like a therapy moment. Should this be a therapy moment?
I've been to therapy. It's fun.
Therapy pod.
But like the kid's going inside to watch a nature documentary, and Nick Cage's like, "What about hot dog night?" It's like, "I'm a vegetarian now." It's like, you couldn't have said something before you started cooking. Bad kid.
I mean, it sets up a nice comedic line, though. You couldn't tell the guy who buys the groceries? I just did. I mean, he's still a shitty kid.
Yeah.
and he would get to eat a plain bun with mustard.
I just would have whipped it into that kid's room.
It's funny. So when I was pulled over and I got a DUI in college, I woke up.
That's what you get for driving in the steam tunnels.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop stealing microscopes, man.
I woke up in jail, and like the breakfast they served me was 2 hot dogs split down the middle on white bread, just covered in yellow mustard. But I was a vegetarian, and I just like hold it up to the door, and I'm like fucking hungover as shit. And I'm like, man, I can't eat this. And they're like, that's what you get. I'm like, so
Wait, is that where your love of hot dogs started?
no, I loved hot dogs before
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That's
'Cause
fine.
I've seen you down a dog.
Yeah, I can eat it. I can fucking scarf a wiener. It's fine.
Can I just add that like we don't call them wieners over here, and it's so funny to me
People don't call them wieners here so much either.
because it also means penis, and it's just so funny to me.
Wait a minute. You mean there's cultural repercussions to the way I eat tube meat?
It turns out we're more different than we thought, kid.
I always thought the funniest one was fanny pack, though.
Oh
You know?
man,
Translation issue.
I got so many stories. I'm sorry. I had a professor in college who his wife was from England, and he went and was visiting, and she like had just gone shopping and bought some new pants, and she comes back and they're like with her family, and she's like, "What do you think of my new pants?" And he just says, "Your fanny looks real good in 'em." And he didn't understand what he had done.
Yeah. It's like, hey, nice camel toe, basically.
Michael Caine describing what a camel toe is will live rent-free in my brain for the rest of my life. All right, so
Knowing.
this film does that thing that so the main character everyone thinks is crazy until they don't.
Until they're on fire.
And then they rapidly don't.
So Rose Byrne's character, it's like she finally believes all the things he's saying. She has a daughter.
Oh, right. She's the daughter of Lucinda,
Yeah.
the girl who inscribed the numbers initially.
And she has another daughter who's about the son's age, and that's how Nick Cage kind of like meets these people.
Well-
tries to set his son up.
I love how he figured it out too, because he's like sitting there in his car with his kid, like at the school or something, and Lucinda's like daughter or whatever lives across the street, and on the mailbox it just says Embry whatever, like she hyphenated her last name,
He's
and that like
"Hmm."
makes all the connection for him. He's like, wait a minute, school Embry.
So, but like she thinks he's crazy until she doesn't. Until like she starts seeing it's all true, and then when he finally kind of figures it all out, gets the final numbers because Lucinda didn't get to write them all down at the end. Never wrote them down elsewhere besides in that door. But he finally gets the final numbers. He's like, I figured it out. And she's like, no, we have to go to the caves and save the kids because there's going to be a big Earth ending event, solar flare. And you've believed him up till now. Why is this where you're going to stop?
He had like maybe one scene prior told her that it would be safe in the caves. So she's already in the mindset of, well, this science man told me I could sit down in a cave and I'd be okay with my kids. And she just wants to protect her kids.
Yeah. And then they're also being followed by Nick Cage's friends from City of Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I kept thinking it was Spike from Buffy.
Yes.
It did look like Spike from Buffy.
Yeah, which would have been a way cooler movie if Spike was just stalking
So yeah,
Nicolas Cage.
the family's being stalked, and it's these blonde guys in trench coats. And when he finally confronts one, this is where the movie just takes its turn. Because I was enjoying the little conspiracy film up to this point, but he confronts this guy who opens his mouth and a beam of light shoots out of his mouth.
I fucking love that because like it was his mouth was just like some vast pit of blackness, and then
Yeah.
it was like everything was just searing light, and I was like, oh fuck yeah. It gets less cool going on, but
Nick Cage's dad is a preacher, and they've stopped talking because Nick Cage doesn't believe in God.
He's a scientist.
because
Nick
Nicolas
Cage is a
Cage
scientist.
is the son of a preacher.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Anyway,
it.
so Lucinda like tries to run off with the kids. Not Lucinda. Lucinda's daughter tries to run off with the kids. The men in black steal the kids, kidnap the kids, steal her car. She's chasing after them. Sideswiped, dead, just gone.
Deserved death. I thought she deserved it the first time I watched it. She deserved it the second time that she watched it. I laughed on both occasions when she got plowed through by that truck. That's what happens when like you just take off with the kid. this is what's going to happen. You were told to go to the coordinates. You didn't do it. I was in the funny mindset though, because she's panicking in that like gas station just before, and then the alien people come along, and they look like every member of like the duo Eurythmics, just in like they look like all of Eurythmics just wiped into one. She turns around, they're gone. Like, you didn't lock the door or anything. You left the keys in the car. Like, they're just like chucking black pebbles at people. There's that really quick, like, she turns around on like the payphone, and there's like a quick zoom into her face, which I love a zoom. I love a sudden zoom. They're some of the funniest shots you can do in film for me. So I'm like, well, this is really funny now. Because I thought, like, I agree with you guys. I thought, like, the first 2/3 of this film are actually quite good. The conspiracy element is quite intriguing. Like, the disasters that are happening, the mystery it builds. It's like, this is actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. This is kind of fun. It kind of goes a bit crazy when the first plane crash suddenly happens, which is like, I guess, like a good effect for the time and quite sudden. It's out of nowhere. I was only slightly taken out of that bit because there's a guy literally on fire running from the wreckage of a plane.
I love a guy on fire.
And then Nicolas Cage tries to stop this man to asking questions like, "Hi, hi!" Like, the man is on fire.
He's got better things to do.
I'm trying to pay for parking. Can you tell me where a meter is?
All right, so I found the connective tissue between this movie and Next. Funny female protagonist dies. Because I will never not laugh at Jessica Biel blowing up.
Jessica Biel blowing up was fantastic in Next.
Like, he's got carryover hair as well, because he's come off Bangkok Dangerous. It's not the worst hair he's ever had. It's close. It's in like top 20 bad Cage hair, if I ever do a definitive ranking of Cage's hair, and I want to. But it's like, it's this growing backwards, weird, pushed back side parting thing, which makes... I've seen some hair in my time, but that one baffles me. It makes no sense. I don't understand how hair grows backwards. It defies follicle science. Shove that up your astrophysicist pipe and swivel on it. But then I think down the line he must have got like a hair transplant or something, because
Absolutely.
he's got like the little peak, that's sort of like the widow's peak thing, and then at this point in time, the 2020s, his hair is straight. So don't think this kind of thing goes unnoticed by me, because I've been staring at that face for a long time.
Well, and you've watched it sequentially.
Yeah.
You've seen everything change and go back and evolve into some new thing.
Like the sea waves on a beach, I've seen it go out and I've seen it come back in, serene as you like.
So the end of this film, I think I texted Nick after finishing and I was like, I feel like you just primaled me.
No.
Primaling being Nick's like, we're going to watch this movie, and halfway through it just cuts to Primal.
I mean, we're going to do that someday.
I know.
I'm going to trick you into watching Primal
But like,
again.
I was watching this, again, what I thought was an interesting conspiracy film, which was a lot better than I expected, and then suddenly I'm watching Left Behind.
Yeah, so when did you guys realize that this was a Rapture film? I was curious about when everybody else picked up on it.
I mean, as soon as she mentions his sister mentions their father, and he's the son of a preacher, I'm like, all right, this is gonna have some overtones I'm not really here for, but whatever. And as soon as the light came out of the dude's mouth, I'm like, they're fucking angels.
Or are they?
They had wings.
Those stupid ass light wings.
Yeah, no.
I'm not like a religious myself or anything, so I kind of didn't really pick up on any like iconography or symbolism. I thought with the people like Eurythmics just appearing just in the background, like sweet dreams of me. Like, I thought it was going to be like an Illuminati kind of thing or some secret society kind of deal. But then at the end, they just transform into these celestial beings, and I was like, "Oh, this fucking sucks." Oh, boo. Boo. They've taken the kids off to another planet and they're going to make the kids like suck and fuck and recreate. This sucks. I hate this. Why have they taken rabbits? This doesn't make any sense.
So there's the whole arc thing where they take 2 rabbits, 2 children, there are a couple deer. I'm hoping the sake of it's absurd that 2 people made a planet in the first place.
Well, there were other spaceships. There were other kids.
So I'm assuming that I'm hoping there are other kids. My main hope, though, is those kids are left on an alien planet at the end of the film. There are 2 lions on that planet somewhere, and I hope they eat those fucking kids.
Well, he's been watching like lion documentaries his whole life, so he's prepared for that.
That's true. That's why he was chosen. Only the chosen.
You are the
damn it.
only one who can fight the space lions, boy. Based on their documentary habits, is why they've made it to the new planet Earth 2. The spaceships go off, they look like just shattered butt plugs about to explode, entering out-of-universe anuses. And then I kind of liked when, like, Kessler goes back to his family and they sort of reconnect. But, like, his sister opens the door and she's like, oh, where's your son? And he says, oh, he's fine. Like, that kind of baffled me, because it was either that he would be like, huh, he's been taken by space aliens.
The space alien thing would have been a fine ending, but no, we have this prolonged, like, 7-minute sequence of him driving into New York during the apocalypse. People are, like, running around, like, just moving out of the way of his car. People have, like, big IKEA bags for some reason. But he gets home, hugs his family. Then we get, like, 2 straight minutes of just New York just going up.
Fire. Lots of fire.
Yeah, fuck New York is what this film is saying.
Yeah.
The rest of the planet was fine, just fuck New York.
This is real nitpicky, but when they show Times Square there and everything's blowing up and like you see all the TV screens like go to static and then go out, that wouldn't have happened. They would have lost power so much earlier.
That is a big nitpicky thing.
Oh, it fucking bothered the shit out of me after watching this, like going back and looking at the poster for it, because it's just like the planet and it's on fire, but they don't like really get into like what's gonna destroy the planet, or even that the planet's going to be destroyed until well after an hour.
Yeah.
That just bothered me that they put the reveal in the poster. Might as well have given it angel wings.
Yeah, exactly. What do you guys think about performances?
I was along for the ride. Nick Cage was perfectly cagey for this role.
Well, for 2009, a good Nicolas Cage performance.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years previously he had done Next, and
Which was
it was
bad.
way worse.
Yeah.
Way
So,
worse.
Yeah,
Better hair.
yeah, better hair.
Better jacket.
I don't know. I wish he would been wearing that golden jacket again.
So, in terms of our rating, good Cage, good movie, bad Cage, bad movie, good, bad, good. Daryl, where would you put this?
You know, I'd say good Cage. I think it's a perfectly fine performance, and I think everyone gives decent performances. Actually, fuck the kids. They don't. You know, this is the thing I hate in like movies in general, when like a weird thing happens, be it supernatural or extraterrestrial or whatever, and then it's always the kids that pick up on the signals, and they're just like, they just go with it. They're like, oh, they said they're going to take us because we can hear the static and stuff. Like, fuck you, boy. Like, if that was my son, I'd be grabbing him by the arm. I'd be chinning the bastard. Like, you're on Earth frying with the rest of us. Who the fuck do you think you are?
You think you can get out of here? Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Just welcome to America. Like, start blasting.
He had a gun.
He did.
He did have a
The
gun.
coward never even tried to shoot an angel.
I like that he had a gun as if he was going to shoot a disaster to save himself. I thought he was going to run down to the subway and start shooting that train to stop
That's our
it.
only solution to our problems in this country. But I would agree. I think the performances were largely all right. Ben Mendelsohn, great. Who just happens to be there, like at the end of the world. He's just hugging his wife in the middle of like Times Square as Nick Cage drives by.
I think they were still in Boston
Oh,
at
were
that time.
Right.
But then they gave us some establishing shots in New York and stuff later.
I was enjoying this movie up until the third act twist. At which point I'm like, fuck all of this. All my goodwill went out the window. So I'm going to say good Cage, bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd say it's a pretty good Cage. I'd give it a struggling movie. I'm okay with like 75% of it, but as soon as we got through like Lucinda's like stabbing cabin, it's and then it really gets to be like blatantly a Jesus movie.
Yeah.
It suffers for me.
Yeah.
Or I suffer for it. I don't know.
Everyone suffers.
Yeah. Except Nick Cage, he got paid.
This movie actually made pretty good money.
It's of an era.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a disaster movie. It does have a big name. It did have a big budget. You know, anybody who saw the marketing for it probably thought that it was not a godly movie,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
then I'm sure it came out that it was, and you got a whole bunch of religious people going to see it too.
I
So
do remember when this movie came out, like the trailers for it. Because when the trailers came out, I'm like, this movie came out years ago. Because I was thinking it was next.
right.
Hmm. Would you watch this movie if Kevin Sorbo was starring in it?
No.
Because I know his audience is probably just clamoring to get him starring.
They're
in this now,
hungry
too.
for Sorbo.
Oh.
Everyone's hungry for Sorbo.
What is happening with that Left Behind sequel starring Sorbo?
I'm sure it's getting mailed to everyone in the country.
I'm sure something's out with Kevin Sorbo.
Did you hear about this? Kevin Sorbo's making the Left Behind sequel, and in an interview, he said how, everyone asked why Nick Cage was in it, not me. It's like, nobody asked that. Not a single person.
His mom might have.
His accountant probably asked him, like, why aren't you in more movies?
I'm pretty sure Kevin Sorbo only has one friend at this point. That's fucking Dean Cain.
Oh, apparently the sequel came out like January 2023. We all missed it.
Did we miss it, though?
Yeah. We must not have been raptured.
I haven't heard from Kevin Sorbo in a while.
We are the left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd rather burn than be in like the next world with Kevin Sorbo.
Me too.
Because I just know that Steven Seagal would make it as well. He would get raptured and he would live. I just know that somehow Seagal would make it. And I can't be in that world where like it's me shacking up with Seagal in a fucking like Jesus cabin in the woods.
How wild would the rapture be if, like, for every 2 people taken
You had to
that
bring
was
one
devout,
yeah.
one like secular or like non-Christian gets to go, and like, but you have to be paired up. So you get sent to like your own personal heaven, and then you have to like be tutored by
oh my God,
like
by Seagal and
or like some
Sorbo.
Mormon missionaries. Like you get sent to a planet, just Mormon missionaries.
I just imagine like 2 days into that, you see a cut to Darryl, and it's just Tommy Chong in Color Out of Space, the like desiccated husk of a person. You died in heaven? How is that even possible?
No, there's so much risk. It feels like we're trying to describe who would be in the cast of like the anti-Expendables, just the evil Expendables. If it's not Stallone, it's Seagal. If it's not Jason Statham, it's Kevin fucking Sorbo.
The cancelables.
The Ganstables, yes. Oh, what a horrible timeline to live in. And I'm sorry I even brought it up. I'll disconnect from the Discord call now. Someone trombone me out.
Nah, you're stuck here for Wild at Heart. Speaking of which, Wild at Heart.
Let's do some quotes real quick too before we completely abandon this movie.
We've done our quotes. We just didn't announce we were doing our quotes.
Yeah, I know. God, this movie was so uninteresting, like dialogue wise. I just got when Nicolas Cage was going off with his sister, and he just says, "I'm the son of a preacher," as he just kind of charges around by his stairs.
I have 2. I have one is when Cage goes to the gas station. He's like, and this is while the gas station is being raided. 30 minutes ago, there was a woman here. She was screaming. Which one? And the other one is, the caves won't save us. Nothing can.
That scene at the gas station, I do love how he's like, there was a boy on a phone. He was 9 years old. It's like, yeah, that guy was totally watching who was on the payphone outside.
I do like how it's a plot point because of the solar flares. All cell phone activity is gone until it's not.
Yeah.
Until the son needs to contact Nick Cage. Then his cell phone works again.
Well, if you go landline to cell phone, that's okay. But cell to cell, not cool. It's like ass to mouth. Just can't in a family film.
That's true. You can't do ass to mouth in a family flick.
Well, you're saying
Yeah.
Clerks 2 wasn't a family film?
Depends on your family. And we never got to see it.
That's fair.
Don't tell me about the ass to mouth. Show me the ass to mouth.
Can't do ass to mouth in a family film. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was talking to 3 cowards.
I have a question for you, Darryl. How do you feel about movies that don't have Nick Cage in them now?
It's a really particular thing, but it's like, I don't know how to enjoy movies anymore. I just don't know how to be a normal member of society anymore. When you watch so many films, but you watched it with like podcast brain on, you're just trying to think, just accept what's happening on the screen. You remember when you used to have a good time, like pre-2020? Do you remember what fun and hope felt like? I don't know anymore.
I've tried to do so many different things. I tried like using voice memos like while I was watching a movie just to like keep track of things. But
That's a
then
good
I've got
idea.
like 13,000 voice memos that just come out with, that dog, it totally like it ate poop. And then I'm like, where
What
was that
that
even in the
for?
movie? It's
No,
like,
you were
I don't
talking about
remember.
Wallace.
Yeah.
I did like when you wrote the haikus. That was nice.
Oh, haikus are pretty good. I haven't done anything like that in a little while.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do like an interpretive dance.
The sound only.
Yeah. Just the sounds of my besocked feet slipping.
Wild at Heart.
That's the next one.
That's the next one. Darryl, you're the professional.
Yeah, let's hear you
Yeah, in
sum
summary.
this one up.
Sum this one up, big man. I fucking dare you. So we have two inseparable lovers. We've got Sailor and Lula, who, after dedicating themselves to each other and decide to have a life together, Sailor is sent to jail after an act of self-defense. But when he comes back, Lula's mother does not want them to be together and sends a variety of strange, weird characters after them to prevent them from being the lovers they were meant to be, because sometimes life is truly, let me look at my notes here, wild at heart.
And weird on top.
And weird on top.
Yeah, so the assault at the beginning, as he's defending himself and he kills that guy, I just kept thinking of, stop,
He's
he's
already,
already dead.
Yeah, because he, the guy had a knife. And he was, well and truly, like, put out by that first punch. But no, it's the face meets Bannister that really sells that vicious beating.
Yeah.
So Nick and I got to see this in theaters a couple weeks ago. SIF here in Seattle did a Lynch series, and this lined up. So we both our first watching of this was on a big screen in a like crowded theater, which
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of people who really knew the movie too, but were not obtrusive
Yeah.
or intrusive.
Lynch has a pretty huge following, though. I mean,
Yeah.
for such a bizarro director.
He has a really big following here, I know, because of Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, yeah, it does make sense.
But yeah, he does have a very, very interested and rabid fan base.
So this movie's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I listened to an audio book of like the novellas. I didn't listen all the way through because there's like a whole series, but the one that covers Wild at Heart, and it's really interesting because it's a pretty, what I remember, straightforward like pulp novel. Nothing really Lynchy about it or like super weird. I found it fun that David Lynch was asked to help write it, and during the writing process he was like, what if I like this movie so much I want to direct it? And the guy was like, well, then I guess we'll just figure that out. And then he liked it so much he ended up just being like, I want to direct this. And the guy's like, okay, fine.
I mean, good call.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the novel wasn't completely smeared with like weird Wizard of Oz references as well? No witches?
No. My initial take from it was like the only things I found different in like key story stuff is there's no snakeskin jacket, so there's no lines about the snakeskin
That was
jacket.
Nick Cage's jacket.
Yeah.
He asked if
And
he could wear it.
Sailor wears boxers in the book, but obviously Nick Cage wears that banana hammock. I think that's just Nicolas Cage's underwear choice.
Yeah, he wears that style a lot.
Yeah.
He's a big leather jacket kind of guy.
Leather jacket and banana hammock.
So once upon a time, there was I like to send magazine subscriptions to my friends, and there was one that I would get that was called International Mail, and it was essentially just a banana hammock, like male thong catalog, and I would just get that sent to my friends' houses all the time.
Sorry, let me just take a note of that. International Mail. Okay, yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah.
I will say, in terms of this film, so Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern, there's a lot of sexy scenes. And
Yes.
they wanted, David Lynch wanted them to be comfortable. They wanted to be comfortable with each other. So they needed to be like more personally closer to like perform these scenes. So they decided to take a road trip to Vegas together 300 miles, just Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern just driving through the desert.
Sucking and fucking.
Just to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. That's a cute little story.
Sucking and fucking. It's the only way to take a road trip, from what I've heard.
It's the only way to know someone, truly.
Is to suck them dry.
That or eat ribs. Like,
Yeah.
if you eat ribs with a guy, you know that guy.
Only true a man by walking 1,000 miles in his shoes and then sucking him dry.
Whew. Can you imagine the, like, sweaty shaft after 1,000 miles?
Is it 1,000 consecutive miles?
I think that's the only way.
Okay, good. Because you and I do go on walks a lot.
We do.
I'm worried. Oh fuck, we do half marathons together. Yeah, we're getting up.
Yeah,
there.
we got some mileage together. Sucking and fucking time.
You've been running these marathons, going on these walks. Like the Proclaimer song, I would walk, 500 miles.
I would not walk 500 more.
Well, you're not going to get sucked and fucked with that attitude. But you're running, you're rock hard, knowing that the end goal is that you're just going to both drop to your knees and jump at each other like a sick, twisted zero.
Full
just
69.
rolling.
Well, you do a stand-up 69 so you can cartwheel across the finish line together. Like, in fact, you can finish together.
Oh, and we would.
Our
Yeah.
podcast just got very Lynchian.
Two people just put medals over our heads as we do.
Speaking of cartwheeling, Nick Cage does that sick somersault out of a car in this film.
Oh, man, that was
does.
rad.
Sweet.
Yeah, he was totally amped up and at his most athletic.
For me, I don't care that much about the plot of this movie. It's just like the style of it is fucking cool. I had such a good time watching it.
Yeah, the plot, I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. It's a pretty simple story. It's Nicolas Cage is recently released out of jail. He and Lula decide to break parole and go down to New Orleans. She always talks about New Orleans. She wants to go dance and have fun. He's like, let's do it. So they get down there, and then he's all like, I want to drive you all the way to California. It's like, okay, I mean, ambitious now. So they're going out that way, and meanwhile, the mom is sending somebody to kill Nicolas Cage. And then...
Mostly just because she's a jilted lover, right?
No, because she thinks that he saw Santos kill her husband, Santos being her
that's right.
like partner in crime and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Nick Cage was driving for Santos that night, the night that Laura Dern's Lula's father died.
Yeah, she's just trying to tie up loose ends.
Yeah.
I thought she was just mad because he wasn't gonna fuck her.
No, I think she was just trying to do that to like
I'm pretty sure he got a
Fuck with
blowjob in
Laura
that
Dern.
bathroom.
Like, oh, well, they didn't show anything from the pants down. He could have been getting a hand job during that whole conversation in the stall.
Well, because she gets
It's like,
him in
I'm
the
not gonna
stall by
fuck you.
saying, she's like, I want to suck you.
And he says no.
And then she drags him in there anyway.
Yeah.
And then they...
This movie has a lot to learn about consent.
Yes. Oh.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Hell hath no fury like a mother scorned.
So before going to see the movie with you, I was at our favorite watering hole, and I was saying I was going to go see this, and the guy, stranger next to me at the bar, delivers the snake jacket line. And I'm like, is that a line from the movie? I haven't seen it yet. But then he also is like, so yeah, this movie, it's like really clever. It's like really, if you follow it, it really just follows like the narrative of The Wizard of Oz. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what subtlety means, sir. Because they just reference the movie a lot.
Yeah. I don't recall anybody getting a new heart at the end. Remember the time in The Wizard of Oz when the really big ladies showed up and started dancing with their boobs out and like the cowboy like stood in the background?
They're filming a porno, Texas style.
Yeah,
It took me a moment
Texas style.
I want to know what Texas
because
style
everything's
is.
bigger in Texas. So they had the really big ladies. Like these ladies were big. These were like Houston.
This film also, all-star cast, and there's a lot of top billing in this movie for people who are barely in it. Crispin Glover is in the opening credits, and he has less than 2 minutes of screen time.
I fucking love a Crispin Glover cameo. And this one did not disappoint either.
For something that lasts for 2 minutes and has no consequence at all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm making my lunch!
So Del is just Lula's cousin, and he's got some mental problems. And they just talk about like him like with cockroaches in his underwear.
Yeah, he has one on his anus, and he does his little like anus dance.
And he has the dirtiest Santa Claus costume.
Because he wants it to be Christmas all year round.
Yeah.
David Lynch is such a weird director. Like, he has such an interest in like the grotesques of the world, and I think that it's really pretty fascinating because he always puts these people in his movies that like look off or have weird bonk eyes or whatever it might be, and it's just it's really interesting. I mean, I don't know if he wants to showcase that or if he is just like, look at this weird shit. I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm sure there's better motive than just, look at this one. But
maybe, I don't know.
But then again, I have watched his black and white weather reports, so I'm not sure anymore.
Did you guys notice that one of the guys at the party, the Texas porno party, was the main actor from Eraserhead?
No, I missed that.
Is that the one? Is that the dog line?
Oh.
I have a dog.
And then there was that guy who's got the nystagmus where his pupils are always moving.
Yeah.
He loves his weirdness. He loves his freaks.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he loves the unusual. And I mean, like, the first time I sort of watched Wild at Heart, like, the story's, like, good, it's fine, it's that whole, like, forbidden love kind of thing with just some weird elements, and I didn't really care too much for the story of it, but it's just very interestingly shot, and then Willem Dafoe turns up with the world's tiniest teeth, and it's just like, you're disgusting, I hate you.
And they linger on those teeth so much.
The teeth and mustache combination that...
Bobby Peru.
How do you know the name of my Dr. Teeth cover band?
The great Bobby Peru. The tights over the face, and he's just like got the saliva in his mouth, and he's just a creep.
Just absolutely repulsive human being.
Yeah.
You don't have time for Bobby Peru. Like
Bobby Peru could eat a peach for hours.
I bet he could.
That's my mashup.
Because he doesn't have enough big teeth.
Oh, I did find the connective tissue. Lula does have a line about how, like, the ozone layer is going to go away and the Earth's just going to, like, be consumed by the sun.
29 years later, who'd have thought? 19?
Yeah.
19.
19.
I forgot how time works because I'm thinking about Bobby Peru's teeth still.
They're so tiny.
What do you think of Laura Dern in this?
I love Laura Dern.
Yeah.
I mean, that was great.
Laura Dern is a fox. Like, I'll say it. I think she's great in this. I think, like, as he said about the road trip earlier, obviously that's really paid off because I think the relationship feels like so real and powerful, and the sex scenes don't feel like they're just putting him for the sake of it. Like, they feel like they complete this relationship, and it's a meaningful part of what makes them sort of compatible together as well. And you sort of feel for both of them. Like, you kind of, you know, even though the story is, it's just like a lot of weird beats that sort of go in a weird sort of tangential, disparate line. But I think the relationship between them is great. Great. Laura Dern is fantastic in this. Obviously, her actual mother, Diane Ladd, who plays Marietta as well, is great. I think her mother got nominated for supporting.
Yeah, it was Best
Yes.
Supporting Actress, yeah.
For the weird lipstick shit, I'm sure.
Yeah, reds up her face and looks like old WWF manager Brother Love. Just if you don't know who Brother Love is, like, listeners, Google it, and I promise you that's the most accurate reference you will hear all episode.
That is the only fact you'll ever get from this podcast.
One of the things, so you talked about the sex scenes and the chemistry. I actually really did kind of buy them as a couple, but one of my favorite quotes was Laura Dern goes, "You got me hotter than Georgia asphalt." And he goes, "Say no more, baby, but go easy on me because tomorrow we got a lot of driving."
Yeah.
This movie has such amazing line reads from everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Cage and Dern on their little road trip developed their characters, and they developed it as like two sides of one character.
Yeah.
So like that's how they get like really great chemistry. I'm sure is just that kind of definition of her playing the wilder, sexier side, and him playing like that loose cannon. But like everything's the same. They're the same person. They complete each other.
This is the third film, I want to say, where Nick Cage plays a character who gets out of prison and brings his child a stuffed animal.
Are we third or fourth? Because we've got the
Connor.
lion, the rabbit, the teddy bear.
Because we have Stolen, Con Air, and this.
No.
I forgot about fucking Stolen.
We all did.
But yeah, this movie has such astounding line reads.
Okay, I didn't save like a single quote. I have most of the movie.
Most,
You
got the
just
script?
it's a total
Yeah.
transcript.
Well, while you're reading that, I'll give mine. So at the end of the film, after he leaves, he gets out of jail again for being involved in a bank robbery gone wrong. He gets beset upon by the most interracial gang I've ever seen in a movie, and and he calls them a word for homosexuals, and immediately gets like curb stomped, where he sees the good witch who tells him to go back to Lula, and he just stands up, nose all fucked up, and he just goes, "I'd like to apologize to you gentlemen for referring to you all as homosexuals. You taught me a valuable lesson in life." And then just walks away.
See, taking culpability for his actions, learning from his mistakes. It's a growing moment.
Yeah,
That's
this
true.
This is a morality film, So-
Yeah.
and I feel like I've grown because of it.
All right, so here's a line reading of the entire movie by Nick.
Apparently, I saved a bunch of things that also weren't Nicolas Cage quotes, like just Dell saying, "I'm making my lunch," and then a note that just says, "I love Crispin Glover." So that's. It didn't get better when I moved away from audio notes to just writing them down. It's still all pretty garbage in here, but I think the second reading of the snakeskin jacket quote is my favorite of the two, where he's in the club and the guy who's credited as Idiot Punk just is like, "You look like a clown in that stupid jacket," and Sailor just, "This is a snakeskin jacket, and for me it's a symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom." And I feel it as well.
Yeah, and I want a snakeskin jacket now as well.
I have priced out snakeskin jackets after watching this, and it is definitely more expensive than just a Wild at Heart t-shirt. Plus, I can sleep in the t-shirt.
You can sleep in a snakeskin jacket. Darryl, did you have a quote for this beautiful flick?
Sort of three that stuck out to me. There was a Bobby Peru quote where he describes what he calls Sailor Mr. Big Round Balls, which I really enjoyed. There was one of those Lynchian characters who serves nothing to the story. They're sitting by that guy with a really high-pitched voice at the bar.
Yes.
And he's going, yeah, pigeons spread diseases, yeah. And then after that, Sailor says he's telling a story about someone he'd slept with prior to Lula. And he goes, "I had a boner with a capital O."
That was my backup, yeah.
I'm glad we got that in there.
Yeah. It's a boner.
Oh.
Bonafide boner.
Boing.
I love alliteration.
Oh, man. Yeah, this movie, so there are so many like just really weird scenes that caught my eye, like that are very David Lynch. Like one of the ones that I really loved, that it's not a fast moving scene. It doesn't hold a lot for the plot, but when they're at that gas station and Sailor's fueling up and Lula's just dancing in the car to the radio, and that older black guy is just sitting there like kind of snapping his fingers and kind of slowly jamming, and it's just all the like little musical breakdowns that would happen. It reminded me a lot of Twin Peaks, which I'm initially familiar with for David Lynch, so a lot of my tie-ins go back to that. I really liked the guy humping the floor at the metal show too.
Oh, just yeah. He sings
Completely
after he
unconnected.
beats up the punk.
Oh, and the punk falls on a cigarette and goes, "Ow!"
But after he beats up the punk,
Those are the noises we make.
he gets the microphone. He's like, "You guys know the song," and he like just starts crooning in the middle of this
Immediately,
metal
everyone
show.
is playing the fucking right
Yeah.
Elvis song. They know.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's weird and it's awesome. And yeah, no, I'm gonna go good Cage, good movie.
Yeah. I love that Nicolas Cage insisted on recording, like singing his own songs. Like he sang it all.
Yeah.
It was good.
What'd you think of his fake nose at the end?
That was rough.
That kind of nose comes with a free bowl of soup. It's
So Nick Cage credits this film with being the movie that really got him out of
out of
Being-
method acting.
method acting, because the script was being rewritten so often that he couldn't. So he just got to like play around with it a lot more.
I think it worked.
Yeah, I think what he brought to the performance or the character of Sailor was like on par with me for some of his like other like just greatest weird character roles, like Peter Lowe or
Oh yeah.
all of his stuff in like Mandy. Just really strange and like good intensity and just bonkers content. So it was good for me. I really liked it.
Do you have any closing thoughts on this film, Darryl?
God, this is like Midwesterners kicking you out of their house. They're just like, well, about that time.
We slap our thighs as we groan and stand up. Well, and it's pointing at the door time.
It crosses the water.
Yeah.
It's a universal, it's time to leave. Wild at Heart, it's a very standout one for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people who you find will place this maybe in their top 5 Cage movies. I wasn't too hot on it the first time I saw it because I'd seen Twin Peaks, but in terms of like Lynch movies, this was the first one that I'd seen. So I guess I was like, I don't really know what's going on with all of this. But on a rewatch with sort of reflection as well, it's warmed up a lot more to me. Like I'm a lot sweeter on sort of the love story element of it and a bit more accepting of these Lynchian elements of throwing all this Wizard of Oz stuff in there. And, you know, unlike Knowing, at least the ending makes some semblance of sense. So I have to take that into account as well. The lovers get back together. They have a boy that's not been abducted by aliens, so I think that's a win on both counts. Yeah, I think it gets a little bit better with each watch as you get a bit more used to what you're seeing. So, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Wild at Heart, and I think it's there's a reason why a lot of people sort of credit it so highly in sort of Cage's filmography as well. And it won the Palme d'Or in 1990, which apparently people hated. But you know what? To the 1990s French, fuck yeah.
Yeah, apparently the boos like kind of drowned out the applause for that film when it won the award.
Yeah, the French didn't like him.
I mean, if the French were satisfied, would anybody else ever truly be satisfied? It just sounds terrible. They're best or at their best when they're suffering.
Yeah, shame on Roger Ebert as well. He's usually quite a big Cage defender, so.
So, not that it matters, because ultimately only Nick and my opinion here matters, but Darryl, what would you put forward?
I think on the basis that because the film at least has a through line that makes sense by the end, I would have to give it to Wild at Heart. And No Aliens is an instant win in my book.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going.
Yeah, sound logic.
I mean, I would have passed it forward with less even. Just not being a Rapture movie is good enough for me. I also like to take into account, like, if I could show this to somebody who had never seen it before, would I get enjoyment out of it? And that this is one that I would get enjoyment watching somebody else watch for the first time.
I love it. You hear that, patrons? Join our $20 tier and let Nick watch you watch Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's literally just my girlfriend. So I don't think she's going to pay $20 to continue living with me every month.
Yeah, she's only on the $5 tier.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wild at Heart goes for it, obviously.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
We do have some This Week in Cage news, because his new movie, which I had no idea was even happening. What's it called again?
The Retirement Plan.
The Retirement Plan trailer dropped. And I don't remember if you sent this to me, Nick, or if I just saw this online, but the number one comment being, "Thank God Gary Faulkner's back."
Yeah, that came up on Reddit, and it looks good. I spoke to the people on that thread, and I told them that I was real excited for Army of Two, where Lizzie comes back in her wheelchair, and like the two of them go on spy hijinks and try to take down Putin. So that's going to be the sequel to Army of One.
I just can't wait for those katanas to come out the side of the wheels.
Yeah. Oh, she's got like those spikes on the side of her wheels like truckers. Yep. So like she gets going really hard and like careens into another car, shreds their tires, and then it flips. Michael Bay is going to direct it. It's going to be so good.
Oh,
so
Lizzie.
mad that we have to rewatch Army of One.
I'm not. I'm so excited because I get to watch you watch it. And even though it's the second time, I'm still going to get enjoyment from watching you watch it.
That'll be my third time.
Yeah.
Beanie Boy!
I fucking love that movie.
No, Darryl, thank you for being here. Really appreciated you hopping on with us.
Well, thank you. I've had a blast being on the show. You can join me on my journey to what I call True Cage Nirvana, covering all the films of the man I refer to as the Golden Hog of Hollywood, Nicolas Cage, from Valley Girl all the way up to the present day, over on Cage Rage, a Nicolas Cage podcast, and all the usual streaming services. You can find me on all the social platforms as well. And at the point of recording, I am in the venturing into the world of Willem Dafoe, who also stars in Wild at Heart, in a podcast venture called Getting Dafoe You, where we go in season by season looking at the works of Willem Dafoe and getting to know Dafoe a little better through all the highs and the lows of Willem Dafoe and his Getting Dafoe You. And you can find that on all the social platforms, Dafoe You Pod, and all the streaming services as well.
It's really upsetting when our guests are better at our jobs than us.
Well, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by this.
That's fine,
He's
because
well-seasoned.
we have the power of editing. You're going to look like such an asshole at the end of this.
You're going to throw so many trombones at me in editing, and
You're going to be bleeped out, and we're going to come back in later with like, whoa, 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 you can't say that in America.
Darryl.
There's only 3 of those words allowed in America.
you're going to edit so many slurs over me.
But they're all going to be in my voice, weirdly enough. But we're going to pretend like it was you the whole time.
You're going to edit like, yeah, so I thought Willem Dafoe this. Why is that? Finally, we got one in. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for showing some restraint for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, really respect that.
Thank you. You can't see me, obviously, because you're listening to this podcast, but I've been pouring with sweat to play a trumpet the whole time.
He's just been holding it. It's been really weird.
It's like, Darryl, why is your face so red? Shut up and keep talking.
Maintain. All right, so next episode, we've got Gone in 60 Seconds and Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance
With
going
John, I
head-to-head
believe, is
with our
John's.
guest John. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to dive
I'm
into.
excited. I have only seen Spirit of Vengeance in theaters, and I remember loving it because it's weird and wacky, and it's got the Highlander in it.
I can't wait to see what John brings his background of nuclear rocket scientry into a Nicolas Cage film.
It'll be relevant. I don't know. Probably. Plus, we get to talk about really greasy Giovanni Ribisi. Greasy
Ribisi.
Mm. That's almost as good as a touch of Tucci.
That's our next
Touch.
podcast.
Yeah.
Touch of Tucci.
Yeah.
And Greasy with Ribisi.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everybody.
You can find us on Instagram at cage_match_pod and Reddit at cagematchpod. And if you are interested in supporting us, we are on Patreon at cagematch. So thank you to our Sparkle buddies, Josh, Sean, Josie, Rico, Matt, and Adam. And special thanks to our cage dancers, Ira, John, and Freeman. Anything else? Last thoughts? Darryl, wisdom to leave us on?
You know, as I say on my podcast, keep on caging. It's all you've got to do. He will show you the way to true cage nirvana and present us all with a golden hog. I don't know, sucking and fucking. What a life. We're all just sucking and fucking our way through life.
In 5 years, we all meet at Cage's Pyramid in New Orleans with champagne and fried chicken.
Absolutely.
And a box of spiders.
And
A box of spiders for Darryl.
For Darryl. So you can have the experience.
I won't be there. I'll retract the whole thing. I'm not coming. I hate you guys. I hate spider season. I hate everything about this.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Heads or tails?
You're just flipping your phone?
I'm getting a new one.
That's true. All right, flip it. Heads.
Tails.
Well, I didn't determine which one was what.
God damn it.
Now you have to throw your phone again.
All right.
But you should try it on the hardwood.
Heads is knowing.
I mean the
All right.
softwood.
Knowing
All right,
it is.
Knowing it
Okay.
is.
All
Fuck,
right.
I have to get my phone. That's where my notes are.
I'm actually really happy that you're getting a new phone. People with single-digit iPhones creep me out.
Whilst we're doing our Defoe podcast, a friend of mine is editing it for us, and he's very insistent that we hydrate, and that's all that's drilled into me when I sit down to record anything now is hydrate. I drink anything slightly carbonated or gassy, I'm just belching the whole way through a record.
Yeah, we just make bad audio.
Yeah.
All my farts get edited out.
What?
Not all of them. There's been a couple that have made the cut.
Oh yeah, nice.
They squeaked in?